human history, people have sought to create a space where they can encounter God. And indeed, as God rescued the children of Israel from Egypt in the account in Exodus at the first Passover, what ends up happening is God gets his people free. He gets them out into the desert. He communicates with them. And as soon as they are settled, and as soon as they have encountered him, the last portion of the book of Exodus is God giving instructions to Moses about how a space can be made where God can draw close to his people can draw close to God, and the fierce holiness, the fierce set-apartness, the fierceness of who God's personality is will not end up doing damage to people. Since that point in time, many people have tried to figure out who God is, and many people have tried to figure out how to draw close to God. And many people have figured out honestly that being close to God carries a certain degree of danger with it. All these things are true. But it was God's heart that once his people were rescued from slavery, that he was going to end up making a circumstance where his people could be close to him. And so this is what we have traditionally had. We proclaim a God who wants to be close to his people. But we also proclaim a God who is so fierce, so strong, and so set apart in who he is, that being close to him without modification to who we are may not be safe. And so sometimes you go into places where people profess to worship God, but it appears that you can't perceive any sort of presence of God there. Some people wrongly make the mistake of thinking that that is because there is no God. But honestly, in some circumstances, the reason there is no perception of God being there is because the people's hearts have been so far from God that were he to show up and were he to be palpable, were he to be tangible, were he to be in a situation where you could perceive him, what might end up happening is it might end up being dangerous for people who haven't dealt with their spiritual shortcomings. So from ancient times to today, there is the desire that people have to draw close to God. In addition to this, there is the desire to have a God who loves us. There is an understanding that God cannot be fully manifest in the midst of our everyday life unless our everyday life more and more reflects the character of who he is. So the hack that humans have taken throughout history has been to set apart a place where God can meet us and where we will attempt not to defile it with our own personal shortcomings. Hence the need for synagogues, hence the need for churches, hence the need for a whole variety of other things that are going on around us. And so, welcome to a space where God is and where we can be and where heaven can meet earth and God can express himself and we can receive him all safely. Shalom.